Hi, and welcome back to Stop Being Sold. My name is Michelle, and I'm here with Brian. And in this video, we're discussing the potential key bullish and bearish drivers that could impact the price of Bitcoin in the near future. Now, we're headed into Bitcoin's block reward halving in April 2024, and many investors expect that Bitcoin's price will go on a parabolic run as it has in past cycles, though no outcome is actually guaranteed.
Yeah, no, nothing is guaranteed. But historically, having events have significantly impacted Bitcoin's price due to the reduced supply of new Bitcoin. In the 2012, 2016, and 2020 halving events, the price of Bitcoin experienced substantial increases in the months following each event as market participants anticipated a supply shock and increased demand for the now scarcer asset.
Yeah.
The 2016 halving, for example, saw Bitcoin's rise from about $650 in July of 2016 to nearly $20,000 in December of 2017.
Don't you remember that was the year where everyone at Thanksgiving was talking
Thanksgiving.
about Bitcoin? Yeah.
It was like everybody and their brother was buying Bitcoin over Thanksgiving weekend. It's like, really?
Exactly.
And then you go back to 2020 halving, saw Bitcoin's price rise from around 9,000 in May of 2020 to an all-time high of roughly $69,000 in November of 2021.
Whew, big run there, right?
Yeah, big run.
So aside from the halving, there are other factors like global economic conditions, regulatory developments, and institutional investor strategies that can also impact and influence the price of Bitcoin. So let's get into those.
Yeah. Okay. So these are in no particular order. The biggest thing you need to know is watching possible regulations.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the key. It seems like the U.S. is becoming more hostile to crypto and Bitcoin. Increased regulation and potential crackdowns on cryptocurrencies could dampen Bitcoin's price. And the SEC has filed lawsuits against many companies this year, including Coinbase and Binance. Both for selling unregistered securities. But here's the debate. It comes down to this. Is crypto a security or a property? That's the key, and time will tell. Yeah. On the flip side, though, greater regulatory clarity in other countries could also enable more institutional adoption. So there's a plus side to this.
Well, speaking of which, institutional adoption is another key factor that can impact the price of Bitcoin in the near future. If major companies and financial institutions continue adding Bitcoin to their balance sheets and offering crypto-related services, it can drive up that price as more money flows into the space. We're seeing this with MicroStrategy and Square adding more Bitcoin to their balance sheets. And the big players like BlackRock calling it a digital gold, and the oldest bank in the country, America BYN Mellon, rolling out a digital asset custody platform, citing Bitcoin is here to stay. So it really does show that there's an acceptance of Bitcoin by major institutions. But personally, I think the game changer is going to be the adoption of the spot Bitcoin ETF.
I agree 100%. Spot ETFs would offer a regulated financial product that gives institutional investors an avenue for Bitcoin exposure and would likely draw significant capital into Bitcoin and also drive up that price. You've got Fidelity, ARK, Wisdom Tree, VanEck, Invesco, BlackRock, and others applying to the SEC. Actually, I think there's around 12 different institutions right now that have applied with the SEC for a spot ETF.
Well, the SEC has been long opposed to the spot Bitcoin ETF. What makes you think that this outcome is going to be any different?
I look at it this way. The massive amount of money spent to bring this to fruition and the largest Wall Street firms stepping in. It's that simple.
Okay.
These institutions would not keep filing to get their spot ETFs approved if they didn't think it would be approved eventually. To me, it's called follow the money.
Always follow the money, right?
Exactly.
And also on that note, watch what they do, not what they say. Because a lot of these institutions, a lot of these banks are like, Bitcoin's bad, but you look at what they're doing, they're adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet.
They sure are.
Well, an approved ETF would also make it significantly easier for investors to gain access to Bitcoin. That's
yes, it will.
Big thing here.
Yep, definitely. It will lead to significant inflows from investors who were previously unable or unwilling to buy.
Right.
It's funny, Michelle, because even in the stock world, it's like people wait to see who else buys first.
Sure.
And instead of stepping out ahead of something, they'll follow the big trades. And this is what will happen once the spot ETF comes in. So, but Here's the scenario. If the SEC decides that they're going to deny all current applications for spot Bitcoin ETF, this could also lead to sell off in the short term, as many investors may view this as a sign that an ETF will never be approved for Bitcoin. We just had a recent delay of ARK's ETF, and we thought it may cause a short-term sell signal, but it hasn't yet. Interest from retail investors is another that will impact price because increased retail trading and demand from individual investors amid high inflation could also lift Bitcoin's price, but waning retail interest could also have the opposite effect. So stay tuned.
Yeah, with that ARK's ETF, they just basically just went back to the not drawing board, but they just revised it to look more like BlackRock's. Isn't that what they did?
Yeah, and they just delayed it, and they actually opened it up for public comments.
Interesting.
And that's a big step forward, actually, not backwards. So.
Well, as you said, only time will tell. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Definitely.
What's another factor that could impact Bitcoin's price?
Central bank policies.
Oh, the central banks.
Yeah, go back to these guys, right? If major central banks like the U.S. Federal Reserve decide to take a more hawkish approach to monetary policy by continue to aggressively raise interest rates, it could reduce the demand for riskier assets like Bitcoin. Also, a hold in rising interest rates and a return to lower interest rate levels could be a significant bullish catalyst for Bitcoin. That goes right along with stocks also. So these two, it's almost called like risk on. If the Fed stops raising interest rates and starts lowering interest rates, it's called risk on, and we're going to stocks and more bullish into Bitcoin. So and if that does happen, Bitcoin's an attractive place for investors to put their capital due to its perceived hedge against traditional financial systems.
Right.
Another thing to watch, Michelle, are the macroeconomic trends. For example, if global growth stagnates and equity markets decline, Bitcoin may drop in price as investors sell the risk on assets. But if equities start being buoyant again and interest rates are lower, Bitcoin could benefit from the risk on environment. So,
how important are network fundamentals metrics like user activity and technical upgrades to Bitcoin's price?
They have weight, that's for sure. If Bitcoin can continue making processes and adoption in the payment front, it could increase its overall utility and become more money-like. We're seeing this now with the increased Lightning Network development from Strike, Lightspark, MicroStrategy, and even Spiral.
Well, I think the big takeaway here is that it's not just one catalyst. It's important to watch what's going on in all these areas that we covered today. All right, well, we're going to drop a video on ways the government is controlling your money that you might not even be aware of. It's a video Brian and I did recently. Go check it out. I know a lot of people in crypto, you mentioned even earlier about macroeconomics and people just really being hesitant to put their money in traditional financial assets that well, I'm going to leave it at that. Go check it out. The government is controlling your money in the strangest ways you might not even be aware of. Also, if you like the content of this video, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Brian, thanks so much for this video, and thanks to everyone who watched.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.